Hey, this is Chris Murphy, U.S. Senator from Connecticut, and I want to talk to you about the groundbreaking Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. When senators went home for the Memorial Day recess, the week after the tragedy at Uvalde, they heard loud and clear from moms, from dads, from kids, from family members, that this time, doing nothing on gun violence could not be an option. And now, we have finally broken the 30-year logjam on gun safety. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act that President Biden signed into law, it's the most significant gun safety reform legislation that's been passed in 30 years, 3 decades. And here are 5 ways that this law is going to save lives. Number 1, we're helping states enact red flag laws. Red flag laws are laws that save lives because they allow for police departments and courts to go in and temporarily take guns away from people who pose a threat to themselves or to their community. But states need help implementing these laws. They're not easy to implement. They're expensive often. And so we've provided $750 million in this law to provide help to states that don't have red flag laws today, that want them. But it's also going to help a lot of states that have them on the books today implement them better. Second, we are closing the so-called boyfriend loophole. This is a loophole that's been on the books for decades, and it allows domestic abusers, convicted domestic abusers, to continue to own and buy guns. The closing of this loophole means that no partners who are domestic abusers are going to be able to own or purchase firearms if they've been convicted of any domestic violence crime. States who have already closed this loophole, and there are about 20 of them, they've seen a significant reduction in the number of intimate partners that are killed in gun homicides. So closing the boyfriend loophole, it's undoubtedly going to save thousands of lives of women all across this country. Third, we have the first ever federal criminalization of gun trafficking. One of the biggest problems in this country is the flow of illegal guns from states that have loose background check laws where criminals can pretty easily get their hands on guns into states that have much stricter background checks. Previously, if you can believe it, there was no federal criminal prohibition on gun trafficking. Why? Because the gun lobby makes a lot of money off of gun trafficking. And so they fought that prohibition, that criminalization, for decades. Now, for the first time, we have federal crimes on the books, thanks to this law, that prosecutors can use to unwind these dangerous trafficking rings. Fourth, we have a whole new approach to how individuals under 21 buy guns. In this bill, we essentially place a waiting period on the purchase of firearms for anyone under 21. How do we do that? Well, we put in place a more comprehensive, enhanced background check, which means that young people can't leave the store with a gun. The local police department have to be called before this individual gets a gun. And that provides a really important opportunity for police departments to intervene if they know that there's a young person in their community in crisis who's now attempting to arm themselves. This waiting period and that phone call that will be made to the local police department, there's just no question that that's going to save lives. Fifth, we're putting $15 billion into mental health and school and community safety. That's not a small amount of money. This bill builds an entirely new system of community mental health centers all across the country, often targeted in underserved areas. Now, that's going to save thousands of lives in and of itself, that significant investment in mental health, separate from the other gun provisions. Why? Because in this country, we still have millions of people who are in crisis who don't have the access to mental health services that they need. The majority of Americans support these changes in gun laws. They always have. But for 30 years, we allowed the power of the gun industry to stop us from enacting change to save lives. We should never have accepted the status quo for as long as we did. We should have never accepted the idea that kids feel unsafe when they go into their schools, that customers feel unsafe when they go to a grocery store. But finally, we have broken this logjam. It shows what can happen when we organize. It shows that action is possible even on the most politically fraught of issues. Now we've got to continue to build on this momentum. Democrats around the country, they need your help to win, because when Democrats win, you see what happens. We pass groundbreaking, life-saving gun safety legislation.